Hi, this is Gary Engberg. Today I'm with Deputy Warden Greg Stacey. Welcome, Greg.
Well, hi there. Nice to be here.
Greg, we got a bunch of different invasives. We're at the Taken Adult Fishing Tournament in Sauk City, Wisconsin. You've got a little display here showing people some of the different invasives that we're finding in a lot of our waters. Why don't you show some to us?
Well, some of the ones that are the most common that we're working with in this area around here, and we're trying to keep out of this area, are the zebra mussels, which have been transported throughout the state from Lake Michigan, Green Bay, Winnebago chain, and we find them in some other inland lakes that are transferred on weeds or through water and can be transferred to other lakes. The zebra mussel starts out very small, grows into about an inch in diameter. As you can see in this right here, you can see these, and it's very common to be transported. They can transport on weeds, as I mentioned. They can transport in water.
That's one of the reasons why we got to make sure we clean up our boats good before we come out.
Just exactly what I was going to say. It's very important to check that weeds are off the boat, that you drain your wells, you drain your motors, you drain your ballast and so forth, and your bilges in the boats. That's one that's a real concern for the inner waters. We do have other ones here that are uncommon to the Great Lakes that we're trying to keep out of the inland waters. As I said, one item that's kind of an interest in a lot of the people that didn't know about is the rusty crayfish. The rusty crayfish actually came out of the Ohio River Valley. These are used a lot for live bait for various fish. You can notice the rusty cray. There's a small rusty spot on the side towards the tail that identifies a rusty crayfish. It's a very aggressive crayfish. It destroys some of the natural crayfish in the state of Wisconsin. What they do, they get down and they eat a lot of vegetation. They disrupt a lot of the egg production and the spawning areas of fish.
They're very bad on vegetation.
They're very bad on vegetation, very bad on the spawning areas. They attack eggs and everything else. They're very quick. They're hard to stop. It's a great bass fish. For bass fishermen use it a lot, and that's how it got up here. It actually moved up here not only from being brought up as live bait, it was brought up for teaching at schools. They used to have these in science classes, and when they get done showing the people in the schools for the habitat, the aquatics, they would release them. A lot of the school teachers would release them. So we've had to put some strict rules on crayfish. In fact, they can't even bring them up. They can be used on the Mississippi, but they can't be used in any inland waters.
What are some of the other common ones you have today? You have some of the zebra mussels and
zebra mussels, rusty crayfish. Another thing that's a fish that we have to watch out for is smelt. Now, smelt has been around since about 1912. Smelt was brought over from Europe and introduced in about 1930. They were using it to feed salmon. They were actually raising salmon in Michigan, and they brought the smelt over, and as feed for these fish hatcheries for salmon. And they escaped. And of course, we know the story from that. They've become huge in the Lake Superior and Wisconsin, and Lake Huron. Smelt, they go up in the spring. They're very prevalent up in the shallow waters, and in the wintertime they go very deep. We're probably all familiar with smelt fries, but it's amazing to note the smelt is not a native species to the United States or to the Great Lakes.
most of these invasives we're talking about are coming through in the ballast in the Great Lake waters, probably from foreign ships.
A lot of them come through from foreign areas. The goby came in from Eastern Europe, and that was brought over probably in the ballast of the ship also. So we have, most of these are brought in by ballast. A lot of them introduced, some of the more local ones like the rusty crayfish was a local United States crayfish, but in a different region. And then we have the new one, the quagga mussel, has just come into the area. The quagga mussels have a little bit different shape, and they're much the same as the zebra mussel in some ways, but they have become very aggressive also. And these mussels, like the zebras, can produce nearly 1 million eggs per year, and they grow in abundance. And what they do, they'll attach, they grow on top of each other and disrupt the flow of water. Now, in a lake system, the zebra mussels and the quaggas, what they do is they filter all the plankton out of waters. We have some zebras here also, and the live zebras here are the ones on weeds. Zebra mussels will clean the water. They filter the plankton, they filter the water, and it gets very clear. And what happens with that, the big problem with that, is it likes the water so clear that the predator fish have a much better view of fingerlings and small fish of our sport fishing size, and they actually will deplete the new generation because they can see them so much better. The clear water also causes a problem because of weed growth, and some of the weed growth is not what we want for habitat for fish. So the mussels can be a very, very destructive as far as the overall ecosystem.
Greg, I want to thank you very much for explaining some of these different invasives to us. Be sure and clean up your boats. Listen to everything Greg's told us, because most of these things can be prevented, and at least we can prevent them from getting into other waters. Gary Engberg for Gary Engberg Outdoors.